Time is up. We're back with what is this, Emmons? Week 9?
Week 9.
Week 9 of the Other Side Sports show / podcast. Josh Powers back here again with you with John Emmons and Matthew Binkley. How you doing? How you doing, gentlemen?
Good,
wonderful.
Man.
This lovely Tuesday afternoon. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the NBA playoffs. Covering the games that have completed in the series that are coming up, even though they're not set yet. They will be set tonight. The Eastern Conference Finals will be set tomorrow night, but Western Conference probably going to be set tonight. Then we're going to go into a Hold Up segment. And then we're going to talk NHL playoffs, and Austin Stoll, who was with us for the draft show, is going to be joining us again to talk NHL playoffs. And then we're going to react and re-rank the early spring NCAA top 25. We're gonna re-rank the top 5 on here, and then Matthew's gonna close us out with his what's on his mind. So, I mean, there's no point in hesitating, right, guys? Let's just get started.
Get right into it.
Let's just get started. So, NBA playoffs. There was a genius on the show who predicted that LeBron James was going to sweep the Raptors, and lo and behold, that's been done. So it's 2 years in a row now that the Raptors have been swept by the Cavaliers. So, Matthew, a lot of people have kind of said that maybe it's time to blow up this Raptors team. Do you think that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry are both going to be Raptors next season?
I think they are. I mean, if you're Toronto, you've got a good team. I don't think it's Toronto. I think a lot of people started freaking out about the coach and things like that, or even DeRozan and Lowry. But I don't think it's the team. I just think it's one of those things where you remember how back in the '90s, just like the Pacers got killed because it was MJ kind of thing. It wasn't anything wrong with the Pacers. It was just MJ. So I think it's one of those situations where you got to wait out LeBron, and you know you only got a year or two left of really having to worry about that. So I don't think you necessarily have to blow up the team. I think you just got to keep adding pieces and hope he really does fall off that, time cliff next year.
Or goes to the West.
Or goes to the West, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Toronto, you're kind of stuck almost, even if you wanted to blow it up.
Yeah.
I mean, DeRozan's not a unrestricted free agent until 2021. He's got I think he's making $27 million a year, and it's not like he's putting up crazy numbers to where you're really going to be willing to take on his contract. Kyle Lowry's 32, so you're not going to get much for him either. He just signed a 3-year extension. He's 2020. He's making I think $33 million a year. So. You built the team, and it's one of those teams that you're not going to be able to trade these guys. So you're kind of stuck with it. You played your own hand. They're not a bad team, like Matthew said. I think LeBron just took over. Josh foreseen what he expected and what happened. So I mean, I just don't think. I mean, they have LeBron. I mean, so I think they kind of.
Yeah, because if LeBron doesn't go off, they're going to the finals this year, right?
Right.
I mean, do we agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
You think this Celtics team could?
I think Toronto. I think actually Toronto matches up. I think Boston would rather play the Cavs than.
Agreed.
I think they match up better against Cleveland than they do against Toronto.
I think Toronto loses that series regardless of whether LeBron plays like he did or not. Honestly, I think they find a way.
I think the huge thing in that series too is
win it either way. So.
I think Kevin Love, them finally using Kevin Love correctly and putting him on the block, opened up things for LeBron. And I mean, you got a guy who's scoring 20 points on top of what LeBron's doing. That team's going to be tough to beat.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthew said no. I'm going to guess you're leaning towards no as well, Emmons.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can, and I don't think you really want to anyways.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna agree. I don't think you can't get rid of them just for the simple fact that if you're gonna trade one of them, the only one that's probably really gonna fetch a high value is gonna be DeRozan.
Yep.
And if you're gonna trade away an All-Star, you need to either get an All-Star or you need to get a starter and really good compensation in the terms of picks.
And really, DeRozan now at 28, 5 years left on his deal, or 4 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, see, so I don't know that there's any like trade partner out there that's going to be willing to take on DeRozan's contract and give up, a quality starter and a pick or an all-star back to Toronto. So I think they're just kind of stuck where they're at, and they can't really get much better. They're just gonna have to hope that either LeBron stays on the Cavs and that team has another year where they can't figure it out, or he goes to a team and LeBron completely messes up that team. And then they're able to slide past them that way. So Matthew you guys talked about it a little bit, is which team would the Raptors rather face if they had made it past Cleveland. So that brings us to our next question. The Celtics are up 3-1 against the Sixers. For all intents and purposes, let's just pretend that they're tied 3-3 and either one of them could move on. Can either the Celtics or the 76ers beat the Cavaliers right now, Emmons?
If they're playing the way they played against Toronto, I don't think so. I think the team to do it would be Boston. But I mean, the way LeBron's playing right now and Kevin Love's getting involved, I just don't think the Celtics have enough firepower to compete with what LeBron and Kevin Love are going to do. Terry Rozier, you would think he'd have to cool down. Jason Tatum's playing well, but I mean, when you look at LeBron and K Love doing, I just don't see anybody beating them right now in the East.
See, I think that out of the two, I think it's the Celtics, because when you really think about, yes, even with the injuries, because when you really think about how Indiana did it, how did Indiana get Cleveland off its game? They played in your face, man press, basically, for lack of a better word. Well, what did the Celtics do? I mean, they get in your face. They don't care about you. They're gonna try to get you going. And if you imagine some of these guys like Morris and Smart getting in, some of these Cavs players' grill, I think you kind of get them a little off their game. J.R. Smith is notorious for getting kind of off his game, and sometimes this sets him off, and he has a great night. But I think that the Celtics could get in their face and just kind of knock them off their game a little bit. And you got to remember, the Celtics would actually have the home court, and the Celtics at home are a different team without
Brad
two
Stevens.
stars. Right, and with Brad Stevens. So I think that they could do it out of the two. I don't think the Sixers are ready. I don't think Simmons is ready to out.
Yeah, they're showing they're not ready right now against the Celtics. Yeah. They're falling apart, and it's not. I mean, they're just young.
Right. Well, I think Embiid's the one that's ready. I think everybody else is not ready.
Yeah, Embiid's ready. Ben Simmons is more kind of. I mean, he's trying to do a little too much right now, and it's showing. Yeah.
So I think the only way that really the Cavs or the Celtics or the 76ers stand a chance is for this series that's going on right now to carry on another couple games.
Right. So, yeah, that was my one thinking when I had the Cavs winning in 7 that they would just be gassed. But I mean, they just won. They just won in 4, and I mean, they're going to need to. Yeah. You got to hope these other series kind of.
So the Celtics, I think, are really in trouble if they beat the Sixers tomorrow night. Yep. Because then they're going to play LeBron on Friday, who the Cavs team is going to get rest, but they're not going to get rusty. Whereas if the Sixers beat them again tomorrow night, and then they have to play Friday, and then the Celtics win. Now the Cavs haven't played until since Monday. Now they're playing on Sunday. That's like a week without playing a game. And then Kevin Love and J.R. Smith kind of lose their rhythm that they've got into. So if the Celtics end the series tomorrow night, I think they're in real trouble. I think they have a better chance if the more days off that the Cavs have in between.
Well, that would make sense if the Celtics were healthy. The fact every game, we keep getting these injuries, and I say because I'm a Celtics fan, full disclosure, there's more and more injuries. They're getting more and more banged up. I mean, Shane Larkin really, really going out hurt. I mean, when he went out with that shoulder injury, it showed because he's the backup to the backup who is now starting. Right. And then you also look at Marcus Smart, who his hand got landed on by Vincent. They were both unintentional, plays. but he got his hand, that he's been messed up that held him out for a while. So the more games that the Celtics play, the more likely they are to have more injuries, get more banged up, and they're already kind of thin. So I think that's the opposite. They got to get in there and just get in their face.
Yep. So I think we're all in agreement that Boston would be
Yeah.
the team to most likely do it, if any. But I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think Boston, with Kyrie out, Gordon Hayward out. I just don't see it. They don't have like the star power to overcome LeBron James.
Yeah, you got LeBron James, so that's all you
Well,
need.
but you also got to remember what the strategy is going to be. Brad Stevens, he's notorious for the Belichick. He's very similar to Belichick in a lot of ways. And one of the things he likes to do is when he plays a star-studded team, he lets your star go, just like Belichick kind of does. He basically says, okay, LeBron's going to get his. We're going to cover everybody else.
Yeah,
We're going to worry about everybody else. That's what he's done with him. Yeah, exactly. He's going to say, okay, LeBron's going to go do his. We're going to shut out everybody else and let LeBron beat us. If LeBron can beat us, so be it.
But see, with basketball, I feel like basketball and football are two completely different sports. LeBron will beat you if you let him. Like, he'll single-handedly beat you.
Not necessarily, because that's when that team is in trouble, is when it's all LeBron. That's what happened in Indiana. The reason they won 7 games is because it was all LeBron, because that's what Indiana did. Against Giannis with the Bucks, he said Giannis is going to go do whatever he's going to do. We're just going to shut everybody else down, and that's why they were able to win.
And before we move on, when you look at when the Cavs really took off against Toronto, it's when Kevin Love, guys like J.R. Smith got into a rhythm.
Right.
I just think LeBron was talented enough to be the young Pacers team who's up and coming, and then he didn't need Kevin Love to win the series, but to dominate the way they did, I think Kevin Love was a huge help.
But see, that's kind of my point, though, is even where the Pacers kind of took away all the rest of the guys, they still lost the series. Like, it doesn't matter whether you sweep or whether you win in 7. A win's a win.
Yeah.
So you're moving on either way.
But you can go it this way. I mean, if the Warriors LeBron go do LeBron, there's the Cavs in 6 games at least.
Your mic's cutting out a little bit.
The Pacers don't have the shooters that the Celtics do. I mean, Jaylen Brown has become a shooter, which I would have never thought when we were drafting him. I would say that, but Jason Tatum, they don't have a Jason Tatum that can go out there and shoot. And in that Game 7, the reason they lost because they couldn't hit a shot. They couldn't hit a shot late fourth, and it showed. And that's really what really caused their downfall.
Yeah, if we really want to go with it, the Pacers, I mean, they should have had that series.
Yeah, they just couldn't hit a shot.
Well, speaking of series that could or could not come to a close, we got the Rockets taking on the Jazz tonight, Warriors taking on the Pelicans. Each Rockets and Warriors are both up 3-1. That Rockets game's going on right now. I think they have a sizable lead almost at halftime. So do you guys think both of these series close out tonight?
Yeah,
the Rockets closed out. I think Warriors let one slip, and I'm sticking with my prediction. The Warriors in 6, but I think the Rockets are gonna grow this lead, make this lead even bigger, come in the second half, and just take off and walk into the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think that they got their proverbial one win. To shock the team kind of win, but it's over. I mean, the Rockets and the Warriors. We said it from the beginning that they're just on a collision course at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see the Jazz and the Pelicans. They've had great runs. They got their wins, but they're both getting swept like gentlemen sweep tonight. So they're not ready. Like, they're just not ready yet.
Well, I think the Pelicans would have done better if they had Boogie.
Oh God, if they had Boogie, that's a matchup nightmare. You're forced to play Zaza.
Right, because they don't have the bigs. That quote death lineup doesn't have the bigs that could handle that. I think it was a great playoffs though for Anthony Davis because he kind of showed he finally took that next step. So
he's ready to take off.
But Anthony Davis wasn't playing as well with Cousins in the lineup. It wasn't until Cousins kind of went out of the lineup that Davis really took off.
But it's the matchup nightmare.
Right. And plus Davis really, I mean, he was always not wildly inconsistent in his career, but he never really put together a stretch of games in his career to really say that it was Boogie Cousins affecting him. Because you can the way Boogie can shoot the ball now, you can put him on more of the outside, let Anthony do his thing. I just think if you want to beat the Warriors, you got to beat them big. And if you got DeMarcus and Anthony out there and you're forced to play Zaza and JaVale McGee, because you're not going to be able to put Draymond Green and Kevin Durant on Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins. That's not happening. So I don't think they still win the series, but I think it's more of a series that's a force to be reckoned with. But I do think Mirotic was Anthony Davis' perfect complement if there is one.
Okay. All right. We're going to move into my favorite segment of the show. It's called Hold Up. So I make up these statements every single week. These guys don't know what they are, so they hear them when you hear them. I make a statement. They get a couple seconds to reflect on it, and if they don't agree, they'll say hold up, and if they do agree, then we'll stay quiet and we'll move on to the next statement. So first statement is, so as we just talked about, the 76ers beat the Celtics last night to avoid the sweep. They're still down 3-1 in the series, and this team just hasn't really looked good in the second round. They looked fine first round, but second round they're really struggling. So here's your statement. The process will never win an NBA championship. All right, moving on. Emmons is going to really love this one.
Oh, God.
The Detroit Pistons finished 39-43, which is 4 games back of a playoff spot. They just fired their head coach, Stan Van Gundy. He had 1 winning season in 4 years in Detroit. During that winning season, they made it to the playoffs, which was 2015-2016, and they got swept in the first round. Here's your statement. The Detroit Pistons will have more than 1 winning season over the next 4 years with a new head coach. I'm saying hold up on this one. That team's doomed. They have no 2018 pick. They got a Blake Griffin contract.
Wait, what was the statement? They won't have a winning season, or they will have more?
They will have more than 1 winning season over the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah. See, no, I've heard that wrong. Yeah, hold up.
Yeah, I'm saying hold up as well. Yeah. No 2018 first round pick. Blake Griffin contract.
Disgusting.
The team is in an awful place right now.
It is the worst opening job in the NBA for GM and head coaching.
I agree with that, and I don't think that they have a single winning season over the next 4 years.
Yeah, Stan Van Gundy really did a number on this team. He traded for Blake Griffin, can't stay healthy, probably one of the worst contracts in the NBA, so you can't trade him. Reggie Jackson can't stay healthy to save his life, so you can't trade him. Your most tradable piece is Andre Drummond, who also has a horrible contract, and you're not going to be able to really trade him and get much for him if you do. This team has no wing players. They have no go-to scorers. There's nothing. They're going to be a year without a first-round draft pick, and I don't know. I mean, there's so much that goes into the Pistons.
The team is in a bad spot. So Emmons.
I mean, it also doesn't help that he missed on every draft picks, big time.
He has, and we've talked about that on the side, not during the show. But before we move on to the next statement.
Wait, can I say anything for the other side, even though I didn't say hold up?
Go ahead.
Here's my crazy prediction: Raptors overreact, fire Dwayne Casey. Dwayne Casey takes over the Pistons. And those last 2 years of that window you're talking about, they have a winning season. Not way over 500, but they get right over 500.
The thing with the Pistons, they have the 3.
Hey, hold on.
Players to.
We gotta keep going.
Right.
We gotta keep moving. So before we move on, who would you like to see brought in as like a head of basketball operations guy? Emmons, you're a fan of the team.
It's too early for me. Now,
I know one of the names thrown around was Chauncey Billups.
I don't know how I'd feel about it. I like Chauncey a lot. It did work out with Joe Dumars. Chauncey's a smart guy. I would prefer him over Isaiah Thomas. That's really the most I can say about it right now. It's too early for me to get it. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas. Charles Barkley went on a rant saying Isaiah Thomas should be the head of basketball operations here, and I lost my mind.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about all I can really say on it now.
All right. So we'll move on to the next statement. After what you could consider a slow start to a season, Mike Trout is now batting .336 with 12 home runs. A .458 on base percentage, which leads baseball. He's got 6 stolen bases, hasn't been caught stealing once. He's played 292 innings in the field, which is the most on his team, and he has not committed a single error. Here's your statement. Mike Trout is still undeniably the best player in Major League Baseball? I'm glad we're all in agreement there. It was really close. I was thinking about it, but I
Who are you thinking about?
the only other one that comes close right now is Mookie Betts. I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
The guy's slaying it, but I want to see him sustain it. Mike Trout's been sustained. I want to see Mookie sustain it.
Yeah, Mookie was the only one who popped into my mind too. I just wanted to make sure we were all on.
So fourth statement is going to stay in baseball. All 5 of the Astros starting pitchers are under a 4.0 ERA. The highest being Lance McCullers Jr. at a 3.73.
What a bomb.
Their offense is 6th in batting average, 4th in on-base percentage, and 3rd in runs scored. Here's your statement. The Houston Astros are the most fun team to watch in baseball.
Hold up.
And don't say the Red Sox. Unless you're going to give a legitimate reason, don't just say because they're your favorite team.
The Tigers are the most fun to watch.
The most fun team to watch, I hate to say it, but it's got to be. It's not them though. I don't really care about defensive baseball. I don't care. Low ERAs. I don't care. I still like watching scoring. So when you look at a team like the Yankees with all their bombers, as much as I hate to say that, it's fun. I'm that fan that can't stand like low scoring baseball.
So
I'd much rather watch the Yankees hit a bunch of home runs.
I agree with you. I think that they're not the most fun team to watch. If I had to pick a team right now that I would watch all of their games the rest of the season, it would be the Atlanta Braves. They're playing well. They've got good veteran talent with Freeman, Markakis, and Inciarte. Then they've got young guys, Dansby Swanson, Ozzie Albies, Acuna Jr. Just came up. Mike Soroka, young guy, just came up, pitching excellent. Then they still have 6 more players on the top 100 prospect list, headlined by pitcher Kyle Wright and third baseman Austin Riley. And they're in the top 10 in most offensive categories so far this year. So the Braves are super fun to watch because I love watching young players develop.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it. I mean, my thing is I love like when pitchers dominate, so that's why I love the Astros. That's my favorite thing about baseball, watching pitching. So I'm the minority there. Because most people like the long ball, like not you necessarily, but like your most casual baseball fan. But for me, Verlander, Gareth Cole, all those guys, Dallas Keuchel. I mean, they're just too fun to watch for me.
I'm really excited for next year. The Blue Jays are going to be a fun team to watch with Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette making their way to the majors.
Yeah.
And while I was doing some research, Matthew, I have some really bad news for you. While I was looking, the Yankees are already good. They also have 6 players on the top 100 prospect list.
Of course.
So that's kind of
hopefully Cashman will have an aneurysm and just start trading him away like he used to. Just hoping. Kind
of like what the Tigers do when Mike Ilitch was on his way out. Yeah.
So that's going to move us on to our 5th and final statement of the day. Alexander Ovechkin has played in over 1,000 regular season games and over 100 postseason games during his 12-year career with the Capitals. Ovechkin is actually playing in his first ever conference finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. Here's your statement. Ovechkin and the Capitals will win the Stanley Cup. Hold up!
Oh, God. Here comes the homer in them.
Tampa Bay Lightning are taking it. They're taking it all the way.
Can't even give me one hockey reason. And
they're taking it all the way. I don't have a reason. I don't watch hockey. They're just from Tampa. They're a good team. They're making it. So now we're that leads us into our NHL talk for the day. We got here we go. Oh, his camera's loading. We're coming. So we got Austin Stoll joining us. He joined us on our giraffe show. I believe him and Emmons are going to be taking over most of this part. Matthew, are you able to contribute to this hockey conversation at all?
Since your stupid Lightning took out the Bruins, I'm boycotting hockey.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Perfect. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Terrible.
Okay, good deal.
So Emmons, let's start off talking about my Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, if you missed it, Austin, he just made the crazy prediction that the Lightning are winning the cup. So which isn't too crazy, but
I mean, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, so it's not like it's the beginning of the season.
Just a little bit of a homer pick.
But so Emmons, so talk to me about this. Talk to me about this Lightning versus Capitals matchup. What's the key to this matchup?
So in my opinion, I mean Tampa Bay is playing lights out right now after how they played against Boston, but
lights
I mean,
out. Get it? Lightning, lights out.
the Capitals are yeah, I'm gonna go with that was intended. We're gonna roll with it. The Capitals, though, I don't know if Austin's going to agree with me here. This has got to be Ovi's best playoffs he's put together. Normally he disappears against the Penguins every single year.
I think go ahead.
I mean, TJ Oshie they added, I don't know if it was last year or a couple years ago, is huge. And then Kucherov, no, he's on Tampa Bay. Kuznetsov's on the Capitals.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Capitals are playing so good right now that they got Brandon Holtby is too good of a goalie in my opinion to not get into it. Like they're almost wasting his talent. But then you got the kid over in Tampa Bay. I think the series can go either way with Tampa Bay. I mean, they got Kuznetsov and Steven Stamkos and Tyler Johnson. I mean, they got so many guys over there. I got the Capitals in 6. It's a little bit of a homer pick for me because the Capitals are my second favorite team in the NHL. But I just think Ovechkin's too good of a player to be out of the cup race for so long. I don't know. I think they're evenly matched. I think if I had to give the talent edge, I'd give it to Tampa Bay. But I just think the Capitals are going to win the series.
Did you just get on to me about making a homer pick, and then you made a homer pick as well?
Well, it's his second favorite, not his first favorite.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Okay. But
unfortunately, my Red Wings are horrible right now, so I'm not used to that.
But what I just heard was,
but you don't have a hockey.
Tampa Bay's got all the talent. Tampa Bay this, Tampa Bay
not
that.
all the talent. They got
but Washington is my second favorite team. So
Washington's got the best player out of the two teams.
What he said is that Ovechkin, and I kind of agree with it. He's been way too quiet over all these years in the playoffs.
I mean, I think he's got one. Does he have 15 goals or something so far in the playoffs?
It's sort of up there. I don't know if it's quite at 15.
He's got 15 points and he's got 8 goals. But he's got 15 points.
Austin, I need you to tell these guys that the Lightning are making it to the Stanley Cup. That's what I need you to do.
No, you said they'd win. You didn't say make it.
All right. Well, we're just talking about the finals, right? The Eastern Conference Finals. So tell me they're making it.
So I agree. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to go. I think they can, depending on who comes out of the West. I think Tampa Bay's got their best chance to win this thing.
They have a better chance than they did a couple years the last time they were in the Cup.
The past 2 years, when they've run into the buzzsaw that is known as the Pittsburgh Penguins, they were injured. They were hurt. Steven Stamkos, I think it was the first Cup win for the Penguins in 2015, 2015. Yep. Stamkos was hurt with that blood clot thing. He came back Game 7. I mean, how do you come back?
Yeah.
In that big game? He didn't really do much, but I mean, the Lightning are humming. They're just so complete. Again, Yearsman just does. I don't know how he does it. He got Ryan McDonough, JT Miller from the New York Rangers, and I really feels like the Tampa Bay Lightning are just the New York Rangers South because they continue to pick up all of their talented players. But I really just don't know. The Capitals, to their credit, they usually have folded by now. They've just kind of shown a weak mental physique when they go against a top talent, whether it's the Penguins or whoever else. But I agree. They're a lot different. They've got a lot tougher mentality. I think, making early exits, the past couple years in a row after showing out in the regular season has really kind of seasoned them. And Barry Trotz has finally figured out, how to get them going. It's good to see Braden Holtby back in net.
Yes.
If you guys don't remember, Philip Grubauer did start the first series against Columbus, I believe. And that could have been a disaster for Washington. They went back to Holtby. And, he's showing again why he's, one of the top goaltenders in the National Hockey League. So I still think the Lightning go to the Stanley Cup final. They're just too complete. They're just humming on all cylinders. They can roll 4 lines. it's tough to stop. When you look at the Lightning, the Capitals and what their weaknesses are. Obviously they have trouble with the Penguins' speed. That's what's killed them. Penguins played 61 games up to this point, so they were able to take them down. But the Lightning have not played that many. They're probably as fast or faster than Penguins, and they're deeper in my opinion. I just don't know how you stop the Lightning.
Stevie Wise built a great team up down there. That's what kills me as a Red Wing fan to see him down there. And we have, but we're not going to get into that. This series can go either way in my opinion. Lightning are loaded. Losing Stamkos last time they made this run, like you said, killed them. I just gotta. I mean, the Capitals finally got over their hump, in my opinion, which was the Pittsburgh Penguins, which it feels like they played them every year and lost every year, and it was never really even close. I mean, they went far deep a couple times in the series, but you knew who was coming out of that series. So, I think Ovechkin's too good of a player. I think he's on a roll. I forgot who's leading. I think Orlov is leading in points for them.
Could be.
I think the playoffs.
I think the biggest thing for the Capitals is you got to take a look at Nicklas Backstrom. He was hurt last game against the Penguins. He had I think his hand or wrist or something. It might have been his dominant hand bandaged, and he did not play.
I forgot who got suspended.
Tom Wilson's coming back. He'll be back. The Washington will get Wilson back, but again, Nicklas Backstrom, how healthy is he? Right. Can he roll out with? I mean, TJ Oshie has been incredible this playoffs. Lars Eller stepped up really big. So, Nicklas Backstrom, to me, it's one thing playing at the Penguins, but they need him to be healthy.
Carlson, who normally disappears in the playoffs too, has been surprisingly productive in the playoffs.
So Austin, you think it's going to be the Lightning? What can the Capitals do to pull this series out and advance to the finals?
So I think they need to kind of take a page of what they were doing to the Penguins against the Lightning. Again, the Lightning are skilled and speed. That's kind of the same thing as the Penguins, who they just faced. So if the Capitals are going to win this series, Braden Holtby's going to have to play amazing. He's going to have to continue his play. But, the Capitals are really going to have to try and slow the game down, not give up odd man rushes, keep Tampa from doing too well through the neutral zone in their breakouts. That's their big strength. Given any kind of space on the ice is a big problem. And I think Washington kind of figured it out when they slowed down the Penguins. If they want to win, they got to do the same thing to the Lightning. And again, Braden Holtby's got to be big. They got to clean, Tom Wilson coming back, you can't take bad penalties. You can't do.
I was about to get to the penalty thing because their penalty has been atrocious in the playoffs.
It has, and again, the Penguins had the best power play, but the Lightning are just still. You're not losing much switching to them. So really, they got to slow it down, slow the game down, get the forecheck going. Dump pucks, dump and chase. Just really grind on the boards. Yeah, exactly. Grind on the boards. Make Tampa make mistakes, and Washington's power play has shown that they can be deadly. So
having Ovechkin at the point is it's just disgusing.
So
being able to play the blue line.
So Emmons, you say the Capitals are winning this series. What can the Lightning do, in your eyes, to take that from them and go to the finals?
I think it's pretty simple. I mean, Austin gave you the blueprint for the Capitals, and the Lightning just have to play fast. They have to get on the power plays. Washington's penalty kill has struggled this playoffs. I mean, they played the Penguins, like you said, are probably the best power play in the NHL. They were 12 for 15 in the series, I believe, against Capitals, something crazy like that.
It's a little high, but yeah, I mean, they were pretty effective against when they went out there.
And they just got to use their speed to their advantage. Washington's always struggled against speed. It's really, this series to me is whoever controls the tempo, who controls how they're going to play the series, who trying to figure out the word to use here. I guess who controls the style of play they're going to play. If it's a slow, grinded out type of game, I think the Capitals have the edge. If it's an up and down the ice type of game, I think Lightning take it. I'm not definitive in my answer with the Capitals winning. I just have a feeling that they're going to take it.
Okay.
Because I think the Lightning definitely have the talent edge a little bit, not by much, but they're just more deep.
Okay, so Emmons says Capitals in 6 games. Austin, what's your prediction for the series?
I'm gonna go Lightning in 6.
Okay, so let's move on to probably the biggest story out of the NHL this year, and that's the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Their first inaugural season as an NHL franchise. They find themselves in the Western Conference Finals. They're waiting on, I believe, Winnipeg and Nashville.
And Nashville play tomorrow, I believe.
They play Thursday.
Oh, okay, so they have an extra day off.
Yeah, so they play Thursday. So they're waiting on those 2 teams to play. Those 2 teams are tied 3-3. So with the Golden Knights waiting on that game to be played, Austin, which team does the Golden Knights most want to see win that game and gives them the best chance to play in the Stanley Cup?
Man, so I was actually thinking about that a little earlier, and honestly, it's really tough. But I think if you're Las Vegas, you want to see Nashville come out of that series. The Winnipeg, they're young and they're a little inexperienced, which is why I think Nashville was able to shut them out in Winnipeg when they were, on the ropes. But they're kind of similar in the sense of they're so young, they have so much talent. Each win is just going to continue to drive their overall confidence up. And the Golden Knights have done incredible with kind of what they've been given, basically. They've got really their top 2 lines are really good, and then they've got some depth at the bottom 6, but nothing to knock your socks off. And I think Marc-Andre Fleury has just played incredible, and he's been the real leader for them. But again, when you're talking about Nashville being the matchup, they bring a lot more of experience. But I think there's a lot of similarities with Nashville's kind of like San Jose, who they just kind of finished off. They shut them out in San Jose, which was incredible. They really just took over the game after the first period. And I think Nashville is the one you want to see because they're kind of similar. They're a little bigger. They've got some speed, but there's not a ton of it like Winnipeg. Again, it's Vegas has speed. They built their team to try and mimic the speed game that has been immensely successful. As we've seen the Penguins going back to back with speed. I think Vegas wants Nashville to come out. They want to come out banged up and tired. Winnipeg's got some big bodies that can skate, and they've been beating on each other. So, as Vegas, you love that, but you really want to see Nashville come out of this. To me, Pekka Rinne is an amazing goaltender, but I think he's still a little skittish in the playoffs. He's kind of all over the place when the puck gets, when it's, kind of a pressure point. So, again, Vegas, you want Nashville coming out. I think you match up a little bit better despite the experience discrepancy. And really, you want Winnipeg to knock the socks off of them Thursday night, and then, you can kind of take over from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made the best point of that was Nashville's pretty similar to San Jose, who Las Vegas matched up really well against. I think the crazy thing about Winnipeg is they're young, they're fast. And like you said, which I think can be their downfall too, they're a little young, can get a little excited. But I think a big factor if Winnipeg wins, it's a great hockey town. Those fans, they were hungry for a hockey team to come back to Winnipeg. They finally got them back. I think if I had to pick a team, I think they'd rather see Nashville. Pekka Rinne, I don't trust him. I never have in the playoffs. The crazy thing about Vegas to me, though, is how balanced they've been, which has been pretty much their theme all year. I think their highest goal scorer has 4 goals in the playoffs. And if you look down the list, every other guy's 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. They're just so well spread out. I think Nashville's a little slow for Vegas. I think Nashville's a little more physical than other teams, kind of like the San Jose. And I think honestly, if Vegas gets Nashville, I think they win quickly in that series and win in 5. I think Winnipeg can take Vegas to 6 or 7 games. So I think, I guess the answer obviously there is Nashville. You'd rather see Nashville.
So regardless of who wins the Winnipeg and Nashville series, are both of you guys putting the Golden Knights in the finals?
Vegas is going to the Cup.
Would that be a first in sports, though?
By the way, it's the third time in NHL history that an inaugural conference finals. I don't know about the Cup. Or not,
it
not,
might- it
not
might
this.
be.
It is the first time in hockey. It would be the first time in hockey. I don't know about in all major sports for an inaugural season.
I would assume in all major sports.
I mean,
I don't think so. I mean, nothing sticks out to me. So
yeah.
So what about
Yeah,
you, Austin? You think either way they make it?
It's a lot harder for me to say that Vegas outright makes it like it is for me to say I think Tampa will win that series. But when you're looking at both Winnipeg and Nashville, it's just a whole nother challenge for Vegas. I mean, kind of similar. I hate to dog Marc-Andre Fleury. He's been my guy, as a Pittsburgh fan. He can get skittish in the net too. He can get all over the place. He's immensely athletic, so he recovers very well. I think kind of having the back seat to Matt Murray the past couple seasons has helped him stay, fresh. But it's a lot harder for me to say that Vegas will for sure move on despite who they play. Again, I said Nashville's their better matchup, but I mean,
Nashville's a good hockey team, though.
Yeah, and they're hungry. They got knocked out in a controversy. With a no call on or a no goal in Game 6 against the Penguins last year, and then the Penguins end up scoring late to win. So they're hungry, and I mean, I believe it was last night or 2 nights ago rather. I mean, they're in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's got the whiteout going. Hockey Town's buzzing. PK Subban said we're going to Game 7 before the game started.
Yep.
The game ends and it's 4-0 Nashville.
Yep.
I mean,
in Winnipeg, it was a statement game.
Exactly.
And PK was such a huge pickup for them.
I agree. I think he brings in a very good dynamic to their defensemen that are active. But again, it's tough for me to put Vegas right in there. They've got a really tough matchup either way. You've either got the calm, steady experience in Nashville, or you got the speed, skill, and youth of Winnipeg. And Vegas doesn't have the talent like Winnipeg does. They might kind of compare to Nashville, but I can't put Vegas in the final outright right now.
I also think hockey is probably one of the hardest sports, professional sports to make a play. So many things can happen. The right bounce off the boards. I mean, deflections. I mean, it's a that's why I do think Vegas goes to the cup. But I mean, like Austin said, I mean, there's really nothing definitive in the NHL playoffs. That's what makes it, for me as a huge hockey fan, it makes it the best playoff there is, and that actually have a series.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping if the Lightning don't make it, I'm hoping the Golden Knights do make it. I would love to see them win Stanley Cup in their inaugural season.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see them win.
It would be.
Yeah, Vegas actually has a really good fan base too. Surprisingly, the arena gets pretty loud there. So
if you win, the fans will come. That's basically all it boils down to in sports. So that's gonna wrap up our NHL playoff talk. Austin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Always.
If you're up for it, we'll probably have you back on maybe in a week or two whenever we advance to the actual Stanley Cup Finals, and we can preview that series as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me again. And we'll hopefully be back next week. Thanks.
All right,
sounds good, Austin. Thanks.
Have a good night, man. All right, so that puts us onto our last topic, and Matthew gets to jump back in now. Me and Matthew have been quiet. So the AP Top 25 came out for post-spring rankings, and as it sits right now, you've got Alabama at number 1, Clemson at number 2, Ohio State at number 3, Georgia at number 4, and Oklahoma at number 5. So Matthew, how do you feel about those top 5, and do you want to re-rank them in any way?
Oh yeah, I totally want to re-rank them. I'm not like some other people who would, make homer picks. Not to call out the two of you, but I would make some changes. I actually am flipping 1 and 3. I think I'm ranking Georgia 1 and Bama 3.
So that's because... 1 and 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Ohio State. Oh, yeah, Ohio State's 3.
Ohio State's 3.
Georgia's 4.
Oh yeah, I'm at 4. Yeah, 4. I'm thinking of this. I moved.
Yeah,
well,
I thought 4 was a little low for Georgia too.
Ohio State's not even in my top 5.
Wow.
I have Georgia at 1, Clemson at 2, and Alabama at 3. The the reason I put Georgia up there and moved Bama down is we saw one half of 2A. That's what we're calling them.
Tagovailoa.
When teams get film on you, it's a little harder to just do what you do. And it went from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback that flips the entire game. I think that they're going to have some growing pains this year at the beginning of the season. I mean, I know it's Alabama. They're going to come through it and everything, but I don't think that they're number one this year. Georgia, on the other hand, has Fromm. I think he's going to come out, and Georgia and really just that entire team defensively, they're just a monster. It doesn't matter they lost some guys to the draft. At 4, I have Oklahoma. Even though they lost Baker Mayfield, I think that Murray can come in. It's a system kind of area, and the Big 12 really outside of, Will Grier doesn't have that much talent. So I think they still hum. But then I move Washington up to 5. The reason I would have Washington up there and not Ohio State is I just don't think that Ohio State has their quarterback figured out yet, and I think Washington does. And this is a quarterback-driven sport.
Actually, I think Ohio State has pretty much figured out who their quarterback is today.
I know they figured it out, but you haven't seen anything. And I think this is the time where Urban Meyer's teams start falling apart, kind of getting weaker. It's been that long, so I'm moving Washington up to 5.
You want to go, Josh? Or want me to go?
I'll go, and we'll save you for last. I didn't have too many problems with this ranking. I don't always say, but I'm a big believer that the defending champion, especially Nick Saban, should be number 1. So I was okay with Alabama being 1.
Where's UCF then?
Yeah. Clemson. I leave Clemson at 2. Because they have those 4 guys returning on that D line. That's scary, dude. That's terrifying.
Yeah,
and those guys were great last year. Another year in the weight room, another year, developing, another year against new offensive linemen that they're going to face from guys who graduated and went to the draft and whatnot. So I was okay with them at 2. 3 is where I did start having the problems. I don't think Ohio State's quarterback is bad. I believe he came in last year against Michigan and finished off the second half when JT Barrett got injured.
He played great.
He played well. He played really well. So I'm not too worried about him. But like you said, I do like Jake Fromm a bit more. So I actually have Ohio State and Georgia flipped. I have Georgia at number 3, Ohio State at number 4, and Oklahoma at number 5. Because Ohio State's Ohio State, Urban Meyer's Urban Meyer. They're going to be great. I think they're better than Washington, who you put in 5. I think if I was going to replace a team, it would be Oklahoma, and I would probably replace them with probably Wisconsin. I like Wisconsin. They're a strong team. They always are. Always got a good run game, which typically bodes well in the Big Ten.
Okay, even at their best, have you ever looked at a Washington team and said, wow, that's a top 5 team? Yeah, at their best.
A Washington team? God, no.
No, Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The Melvin Gordon, James White years? Oh, man, those teams were so good.
No.
Those teams. J.J. Watt was... you realize J.J. Watt and Melvin Gordon were on the same team, right? Like, they played
they
the
were
same
never
year.
top. They were never... I never looked at them and said, top 5.
That team was top 5 material right there. The problem was that they ran into Ohio State. And they ran into Ohio State that had NFL caliber players on those teams.
Wisconsin typically has like a couple of guys who are future NFL players, but they're never like as a whole great.
Wisconsin's kind of like a team who's. I do agree with Josh that team was really talented that year, but besides then, I mean, they're always kind of like a team who's like always ranked maybe a little higher than they should be because they play in one of the easiest divisions in the Power 5 conferences.
Whoa.
Are they ever going to split that up, you think?
No.
I don't think so. No. I mean, I don't know who Iowa maybe challenges them sometimes. They did. I mean, they made the Big Ten championship when they played Michigan State in 2015. But anyways.
Yeah, give us your top 5, Emmons. Let's hear it.
I'm with you with Alabama. I do agree with Matthews. I do think they might fall off on number 1 this year at some point. But as of right now, there's really nothing after spring ball that can be like, hey, yeah, these guys aren't the number 1 team in the country. Number 2, I keep Clemson there. Like you said, that front four is just nasty. And I think Dabo is going to make a crazy but smart move and start Trevor Lawrence, who I think is miles ahead of what's his name, Kelly Bryant, already. I mean, just watching him since, given he hasn't played a college game yet, but he's one of my main reasons I have them still at 2. And then at 3 is when I start changing things. I have Georgia at 3, like you did, Jake Fromm. A lot of people returning on that Georgia team. I think they have the #1 recruiting class in the country. Number 4, I have Washington. Jake Browning coming back. I don't see him as like a huge NFL prospect, but I do see him as a really good college quarterback who can win you games. And then number 5, I do have Ohio State in there. They did decide who their quarterback was today with what's his name, Joe Burrow's transferring. I like Dwayne Haskins a lot. Been following the kiddo for a long time. They also had the number 2 recruiting class in the country, and Urban Meyer tends to find a way to plug in some of those freshmen right away. They always reload on the corners. I can't think of their corner's name off the top of my head, but they also have a really nasty defensive tackle who I'm losing his name as well. I mentioned him in one of our chats earlier today, who's probably going to be anywhere in the top 15 on the NFL big board by the end of the year.
Oh, and don't forget, Ohio State also has just a guy named Nick Bosa coming off the edge.
Yeah,
so.
One of the best defensive pass rushers in the country.
But they just have a tendency to have that game that they lose. I mean,
that is
well, yeah,
that's the thing I'm worried about is during the season.
That's also the thing that we're ranking right now. When I got this question, we're ranking these teams post spring. I'm not really putting their tendencies into.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at like strength of quarterback. Like when I'm looking at post spring, I'm looking at like their team in regards to their quarterback situation.
Besides Georgia, you don't really have a sure set like stud QB. I mean, Tua's probably going to be a stud, but he's played a half of football. All your great college quarterbacks this year are on teams like Oregon. You got Wilger in West Virginia. You got a lot of guys at different schools that aren't generally at the top. So I don't think your quarterback.
That's why I moved Georgia.
But that is why I could not have Wisconsin, because I think their quarterback is still Joel Stave, and he is atrocious. He is bad. And as good as their freshman running back last year was, I mean, it showed in the Big Ten championship game. Joel Stave made at least 8 horrible throws off the top of my head that I can think of. If I go back and watch that game film, I'm sure I see more. Wisconsin's defense is stout. They got that great running back, but I'm not knocking here. I mean, they're close, but I just think the quarterback.
I also think Alabama will not make it to October undefeated.
I haven't looked at their schedule, but
they have Mississippi and Texas A&M.
I was gonna throw. I forgot to do it. I was gonna throw actions. I forgot to.
Your mic cut out during that whole thing.
Yeah.
I said I was going to throw Michigan in there to see what you guys thought as a troll pick, but I forgot to do that. So
listen, by mid, Miami's going to crack that top 5 again. Miami's going to end up popping up there at some point this season.
Miami's another team that gets late in the season and they choke.
But they haven't had a quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback play though. Their quarterback really held them back last year, and now. What's Mark Richt? His quarterbacks that he's recruited and brought in for his system are now the ones coming up.
So the only thing, and you had Georgia at 1, and me and Emmons had them at 3. The only thing I'm really curious to see with Georgia is how they bounce back from losing Sony Michel and Nick Chubb in the same year. I'm not too worried about Alabama because Alabama always seems to replace guys immediately. Because they have
Georgia replaces running backs like crazy. Before those two, it was
Georgia just landed the number. Yeah, Georgia got the #1 running back in the.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nobody pressure. It's one of the easiest positions to transform to as far as learning the playbook and stuff like that. So Zamir White's going to be. He's probably better than Chubb and Sony Michel by the end of his career at Georgia.
Right. But the problem is that that's a two-headed monster, and we saw what a two-headed monster can do with the Saints last year in the NFL, and then Georgia did it with Michel and Chubb. So I don't think one guy can replace the two of them. They're going to need somebody else in that backfield to step up and carry a little bit of the load too.
They also got Ridley's brother, and
that kid's going to be a beast. I like that kid.
Georgia, I'm looking at Kirby Smart is making Bama East. basically in Georgia. And so that's why I'm not necessarily as concerned about him replacing some of these guys, because that recruiting class is ridiculous.
What's loaded?
Yeah, it's scary as a Gator fan. I mean, he's going to rule the East for quite some time, unless Dan Mullen can finally get it together.
You know what the scary thing is, too? After Jake Fromm leaves, they got Justin Fields. That's an insane thought to think about.
He was the number 1 quarterback this year, right?
He was the number 2. He was the number 1 dual threat quarterback, but number 2 overall quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was ranked. They were jumping back and forth, and Trevor Lawrence, according to 24/7, who's my favorite recruiting website, they had Trevor Lawrence ahead of him.
What's going to be scary is if Kirby Smart is able to get the top quarterbacks to Georgia. Because that's the one thing that's kind of
I'm sorry.
Sometimes.
DeAndre Swift, who was a stud last year as a third running back at Georgia, he was a freshman last year, tore it up. He's probably gonna be their starter. He's more of kind of like a feature back kind of guy, backfield, kind of like a Sony Michel.
Yeah.
All right, so we all agree to disagree on some topics, but that's.
I mean, it's post spring football, so I mean, I think it'd be impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible to predict anything right now.
Now I can see why you didn't want to do the top 10.
Yeah, because it would have been chaos beyond that point. So Matthew, you're gonna take us out. What's on your mind, buddy?
So a growing trend, is something near and dear to all three of us, is esports. And as esports have kind of been blowing up, I don't think many people realize that colleges across the country actually have esports programs where they go against each other. And so you have I was looking earlier to get Boise State and them, they actually have teams in these games, and they wear the Boise State jersey and they go and they play against the other teams. And I just think that it's kind of growing into a big thing. And I think we're going to get to a point where we have really big schools. You have Alabama versus, Ohio State, but in an e-sport. And I think it's going to become a big thing. And it's going to lead to, because technology wise, they're even having degrees on, esports, and they're having programs within learning. So I think it's blowing up. It's getting bigger. And I think that it's just a trend that's going to keep coming up, and we're going to start seeing more and more of it on TV. And because when you really look at it, it is a sport, and they train and things like that. So I'm interested to see just how far that goes in the sports world. And when you get to the point where you're talking about esports and sports shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at when 2K actually held a combine.
Mm-hmm.
For their players. They did a little different 2K. You had to create a player, but you had to create a separate player. You couldn't have all these attributes. And then they had a draft.
Right.
So I mean, they made it pretty realistic for that. And then I don't really know exactly how the format was for the season and the playoffs and whatnot. But like you said, I mean, it's becoming bigger and bigger. You see it more and more. You hear about it more and more. It's interesting to pay attention to.
Well, see, that's the thing is esports goes beyond Madden,
right,
and NBA 2K.
For sure.
There's I play a game, League of Legends. That game last year, the grand prize for the world champion was $2 million plus. So these there's a lot of money in esports. And Matthew said League of Legends actually already has a college series. I believe there are over 40 colleges that participate in this official series.
It's about 50.
Yep.
Yeah, and so the winners, I believe, get scholarship money. They get money for scholarships to their school. So
they have a National Association of Collegiate Esports.
Right. And there was a college that just started giving out scholarships for Fortnite because Fortnite is getting so popular. So
I saw that too.
Well, the big thing about it is that it gets kids interested in the programming side of it.
And it also opens up another avenue for kids who don't have an athletic ability to earn a scholarship outside of an academic scholarship.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a 4.0 student, valedictorian. 100 community service hours, extracurricular
Right.
activities. Like, you don't have to do that now.
It-
You can go
it creates-
home, you can play Fortnite for 6 hours when you get home, and then you can go to college and still become something.
The interesting
Yeah,
thing would be though is some of these issues that might come up. So like if those kids that are streaming on Twitch Fortnite and making money off of that, and you have this National Association of Collegiate Esports, I wouldn't guess they're going to get like the NCAA. You start getting into some weird situations.
Yeah,
It's
there's
gonna be
interesting
some-
to see.
And that's
But,
that's
yeah, I
another
think-
topic for another day.
Yeah, I think Josh hit it on the head though with the athletic part of it, because even if you look at guys who are athletes, there's things you can't control. You can't control how tall you are, really.
Right.
I mean, if you're a 5'7" basketball player in high school and you're balling out in high school, college is gonna be like, dude, you're 5'7", we don't want you. So I mean, not that they're generally gonna go to video games, but it does give them an extra opportunity to get that scholarship. So I do think it opens up opportunities, like Josh said there. I think he hit that right on the nail there.
And it also kind of helps expand. Like me personally, I learned to read playing video games back when I was a kid.
Right.
I learned to read playing Pokemon Yellow and Donkey Kong on
Yep.
on my Game Boy Color.
Well, kids walk around schools now with those little Minecraft, those thick manuals,
Yeah.
and they're reading it. And I've tried to tell the teachers, I'm like, they can read. You just got to give them something interesting because
Right.
Right.
they're reading this really thick manual.
And now, and when I was growing up, my dad always used to tell me, "Why are you wasting your time playing video games?" So I would say, "Well, it's fun. I like to do it. It's fun to me." Now, not only can it be fun, now it can actually provide a future as well. So hopefully, parents will start to take that into consideration when they're raising their kids before they try to deter them away from video games.
Right.
So that's gonna wrap up our show for the day. That was a nice timetable today. We're just 1 minute over as it sits right now.
Instead of the 30 minutes last week.
Yeah, right. So Austin, thank you again for being on the show and talking about the NHL with us. Everybody out there watching right now, thank you so much for watching. If you watch a replay on YouTube or if you watch a past broadcast on Twitch, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. We always
Also on
post links in
SoundCloud
the-
now.
Okay, we're also on
And
SoundCloud.
that'll be up tomorrow.
And Emmons is working on getting us on iTunes as well, so you can download there and listen on the go from your phone if you have iTunes. John, Matthew, thanks again for another great week. We'll be back again next Tuesday for week 10 of our show. So we're a little over 2.5 months in. It's been a good time. All right, so thanks for watching, and you can find us here next week, next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m.
Have a
Thanks.
good night.